Hey guys, happy Sunday. Welcome to another hangout with Filippo and Pete. How's everybody doing today? First of all, let's start off by wishing Jonathan Walker a very happy birthday. Happy Sunday and happy birthday to me. Jonathan, I hope you're having an awesome day, bro. But what are you doing hanging out with us? Go do something fun with your friends.
Yeah, don't be here.
With MailChimp's customer.
How are you doing, Filippo? I like your jersey.
I'm doing good. I just decided to wear. I always wear soccer jerseys or jackets, so I wanted just to show people that I actually watch other sport. Not as much, obviously, but I do watch other sports, and I watch a little bit of basketball when I have time, and I do like the NBA quite a bit.
Nice. I don't actually watch that much basketball, but I should. I've tried. I just can't get too excited when they score back. They score every 30 seconds. So
Just watch the buzzer beaters, the last few minutes.
yeah. So guys, we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of Q&A, but really what we're going to talk about is some of the performances from this last weekend. It wasn't the most outstanding weekend for American players anywhere, really, but there were still some to highlight, and we're going to talk about the guys who performed well and the guys who had decent to average performances. Because if we only talk about the guys that have outstanding performances, we may not have much to talk about. So, but other than that, we'll just talk about maybe some upcoming, international break, roster, players, answer your questions, whatever you guys want to talk about, right? This is your forum as much as ours. So hit us up with your comments. Brooks Durham is asking what happened with your fresh cut, Tack.
Oh, just because I shaved a little bit here, I thought it was time to clean up a little bit. I looked.
Oh, yeah.
I looked at, and Mariana's visiting next week, so I had to clean up this week because I don't have time during the week anyway. So that's the reason.
Constantine
for you
says
guys.
Leggett is starting against Mexico.
Yeah, I don't think he'll start, but I think he's going to be in the roster. But I
He'll
don't think
definitely be in the roster. I doubt he's going to start if MMA are all healthy. I would be very, very surprised. What's up, guys? Cody, how are you? Brooks, Conrad's miss was so bad. Would have won Marseille the match. Did you see Conrad's miss?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was that bad. Like, I would have liked him to finish it for sure. But I think when a ball is dropping right in front of you, here's the problem with a shot like that. You can't wait for it to touch the ground. Because if it touches the ground, it changes the trajectory instantly. It bounces. So you have to hit it in the air as just before it makes contact with the ground. And he mishit it. And that sucked. But it wasn't like a sitter. It looked bad because he was so close to the goal and nobody was marking him. But I don't think it was as bad as some people are
I
making it
think
out to be.
it wasn't an easy shot by any means, but I
No.
think at that level and the level we're holding him to, playing at the top, like that's technically the second or third best team in the French league right now. So for that standard, yes, he needs to convert those, but it wasn't an easy shot. It's just because at the highest level, you got to figure it out and score those chances when you get them,
Yeah.
especially against PSG. Every detail matters, but it wasn't an easy shot. It would have been
No.
a golazo actually if he actually hit that.
Yeah. It looks worse because it was so close to goal, but the trajectory of the ball and trying to hit that first time just the millisecond before it touches the ground is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more interested, to be honest, in him looking dangerous consistently when he's on the field. And I thought he did.
Yeah.
Outside of that goal, his 1v1 dribbling was very good. He beat, a couple guys several times, 1v1, put in some dangerous crosses. That's what you want from Conrad, right? And so I would have liked him to score that goal. I'm not really going to hold that one against him.
No, and also what you want is he comes in mid-game against a world-class opponent, right? He wasn't playing against a crap team, and he lit up the game too.
Yeah,
he
he
didn't
had an
get a
impact,
goal,
right?
but he came in and he was lighting up the game right away, beating defenders on one-on-one. It was what you want to see from him. Plus, remember, guys, it's technically his first season at the highest level, right? Because he wasn't playing for Barcelona.
He's still 20, right? We have to remember that, right? And with young players, there's going to be ups and downs. But what you want is him to be a threat when he comes on against a team like PSG, which he was, right? So, Matt Poliquin says Pete looks like a blonde Harry Maguire and Tax looks like a Brazilian Justin Bieber.
Who got the worst out of that one?
I think you did. I'm sorry.
I think we both lost here, Pete. I mean, you were
Neither
called
of
the
them are
fridge, and I
great,
was called
but at least
Justin
my
Bieber.
guy's a footballer. Your guy is, I don't know what.
Is he a singer still? I don't know what Justin Bieber's up to.
I don't know these days. He's married. He's going to church. I have no idea. I don't
Yeah, he
follow
changed a
Justin
lot.
Bieber.
They changed a lot. Changed a lot.
What did?
He changed a lot. Justin Bieber changed a lot.
Yes, he did. Busio injured, by the way. I didn't see any reports of him being injured. Was
So
he?
so he did leave the game. He did stay, right, and he finished. So I talked to a friend of mine that's actually at Venezia right now.
Mm-hmm.
He was with Busio's brother. He said he would send me an update. He did have apparently he did go to the doctor. Probably had an MRI from what he heard, but he
Oh
should
yeah.
have an update soon.
I
But
guess we should.
he said he doesn't think it's serious because based on the talk with Busio and his brother, he said Busio might miss a game or two, but it doesn't look like it's anything bad.
Mm. Yeah, that's good to hear. I actually liked Tanner Tessman when he came on. We'll talk a little bit about Tanner later. But he is playing as a 6 for Venezia, which is still a position of need for us. So somebody to keep an eye on. Jonathan Walker, since it's your birthday, I'm worried what our squad looks like versus Mexico. Can y'all predict the Mexico starting 11?
The Mexico or ours?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he means ours. My guess is he means ours. So I'll go with mine first, and then you can tell me if you agree or disagree. I think
Go by position. I'll tell you right away, yes or no.
Okay. Okay, cool. I think Turner starts.
Yes.
I think the back four ends up being Dest, Robinson, Brooks, and Robinson.
Yes. If Brooks is healthy, he left the game with an apparent injury as well at the 88th minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it could be just precaution because they had lost the game already.
Yeah. And then in midfield, I'm guessing MMA. So Tyler Adams, Musa, and McKennie. That's my guess. And then I think if Pulisic is healthy, I think he starts, but I don't think he will. He might be just returning for Chelsea, but I don't know if it will be enough to let him start. I think it will be Aronson on the left, Ricardo Pepi up front, and I hope to God that it's Tim Weah on the right wing, but I would not at all be surprised if it was our favorite friend, Paul Arriola.
But Arriola hasn't returned from injury still, too, so we don't know.
Wait,
he hasn't
what?
played. Arriola hasn't played for DC yet since he got injured.
Oh, okay.
So
that sounded too positive. I'm sorry. What I mean was, oh dear. I hope he comes back soon, but I don't want him starting for us.
So to me, I think if we're gonna bet on a lineup, it's gonna be Brendan, Weah, and Pepe up top. I think that's safer. Pulisic hasn't even played a minute. Pulisic, even if he plays for Chelsea, I think Greg brings him in if he plays, and he'll probably come off the bench against Mexico at one point.
I agree with that for sure. And that's good, right, guys? We want to have depth. We need quality players. Tamale Killer, thank you, sir. I'll start a GoFundMe page to get euros to the USMNT roster if the USSF says it's a money issue. We need to think about the future. Yeah, the truth is it's not a money issue, or at least it shouldn't be, okay? Greg Berhalter is on $700,000 a year. So when I see USSF asking for money for a 17-year-old goalkeeper to be able to attend a youth camp, I get a little unhappy about that because the amount of money they're spending on ridiculous things tells me they have money. It's just being misallocated. What are your thoughts on this, Tag?
Same thing. I think they have also access to funds if they need it. They can get more money, also have sponsors. They can figure it out, right? Our way to make money is obviously through Rocco Comiso. That's our way to make it.
Yeah.
He's not giving. He offered them a lot of money. They rejected. We accepted it, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my starting 11, guys, that I think, will play. We'll see, though. I don't think there'll be much variation. It would not surprise me if he started John Brooks with like a Walker Zimmerman, right? Greg seems to love Walker. So hard to say. There's a lot of comments here about your hair.
I think it's more because I shaved, because the hair, I get the haircut every time just because I shaved a little bit. I think
you shaved, a little bit.
Mustache, yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about Slonina in a second, Constantine. I wouldn't call him up for this camp, but in December, for sure, if there's there's a youth camp, right, coming in November and a tournament, which he should start for us as a U20 keeper, in my opinion. And then maybe in December, he's one of the 3 guys you bring in if it's an MLS-only camp, because he is performing well for a 17-year-old. Of course, there's limited data, guys, and he's still very, very young, and we can't overhype him yet. But first, I mean, I think it's very rare for a 17-year-old at his age, to be playing in any professional league.
Especially
So
goalkeeper.
that's
It's even
that's
more.
what I mean as a goalkeeper. Yeah, goalkeeper is almost unheard of for a 17-year-old. And look, we lost to Choa, but we still have Chituru Odunze with the Leicester City under-21s. We have Chris Brady also at the Fire. So there are other options that we have. It's not like our youth goalkeeper ranks are depleted or anything, you know?
Well, and we also got CJ Dos Santos at Benfica B, which, from what Ederson said, they played a huge role in his development. So
Yeah.
there's we're gonna be fine with goalkeepers, and I know we're gonna find a goalkeeper that can play out of the back, that can use his feet. A
Yeah.
technical, we will find one
I mean,
soon.
the good news is a lot of these young guys can play out of the back, right? They've
Yeah.
been, taught to do it from a very young age, so they have the technical ability to do it. My concern with Slonina is that the Fire don't like to play out of the back, so he's not getting enough reps doing it. But it's hard to complain about a 17-year-old getting, numerous starts and clean sheets, and even saved a penalty a couple games back. For a 17-year-old, that's pretty good. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into this. Really, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of the good/decent performances from the weekend and highlight them. And if you have any thoughts, Tack, feel free to jump in. All right. So the first one we have is Joe Scally. Let me just get this comment off so you guys can see everything. So Joe Scally was probably one of the best performers of the whole weekend, if I'm being honest. Played right back in the game against Hertha Berlin. Played the full 90 minutes, had 2 shot creating actions, 7 progressive passes, 46 out of 59 completed passes, a 78% pass completion rate, two shot creating actions is already there, and drew 3 fouls. Right from the defensive side of the game, he won all of his aerial duels. That's 3 out of 3, 1 interception, 3 blocks, 11 presses, and 3 clearances. Now, Scally is playing as a wing back, which is interesting that a lot of our guys tend to play more wing back roles than fullback roles. But it is still interesting to see. This is, I think, his 10th game in a row now. Is it his 9th or his 10th? Do you know?
It's his ninth straight Bundesliga start, but 10th
Yeah.
straight start.
Exactly. But what's more interesting to me than just that game is his overall stats compared to other fullbacks. Now, these stats, guys, are against top fullbacks in the world. Okay. So if they take all the fullbacks from the top 5 leagues and they give their average in these, different categories, the first one is progressive carries. The average for progressive carries per 90 in a top 5 league in Europe is 4.92. Joe Scally is at 5.96. Okay. Pass completion percentage in a top 5 league for a fullback is 78% per 90. Joe Scally, it's 83% per 90. Okay. Progressive passes, not just completion, but progressive passes, 4.28 compared to the average, which is 3.97. And remember, he's 18 years old, right? Playing in, and he's being, this is compared to all of the fullbacks in the top 5 leagues, including guys with much more experience and talent than him. And then dribbles completed, he's almost double the average. It's 0.9 per 90. Joe Scally is at 1.46. So I think putting Joe Scally's performances into context matters because he's not just performing competently for a Bundesliga team at 18 years old, right? He is outperforming many fullbacks older than him and with more experience than him in the top 5 leagues at such a young age. And he's been doing that consistently now for 10 games. Now, yeah, 10 games is not a huge sample size. And because he's young, right, there can be, ups and downs, and that's okay. But really important to me that we understand the context behind what he's doing, because I really think that's crucial. Like, that's really, really important, Any thoughts on Scally? Did you watch the game?
Yeah, I've been watching almost all of his games so far. He only out of all these games, the only game that he was poor, the only game I can say was poor was against Bayer Leverkusen. That's the one. But he wasn't. When I say poor, it wasn't that he was terrible. It's just that he made mistakes that led to goals, and he wasn't that good on supporting the offense. But besides that, every game he's been solid on the support, solid on his defensive responsibilities against Bayern. In every single game, he starts as a right wing back, and they move him to the left wing back later in the game. They play
Yeah.
him on both, and
Yeah.
he's equally as good on both sides. and he's only 18. And you said it, that 10 games is not a large sample, but it's enough of a big sample to know the kid has talent, right? You're 18, you're being thrown in Bundesliga, playing full 90 minutes every week, and you're holding your own every week. So you can't be a scrub. That's 10 games. It's a much larger sample than people got hyped over Acosta of 3 games, right?
Yeah.
It's a much larger sample. So I think it's time to integrate him to the U.S. men's national. I'm not saying start him against any of these opponents. Maybe not
No.
even play him, if I'm going to be honest. Maybe not even play him because we have Destin Robinson, and there shouldn't be that much rotation this camp. But I think integrating him it's about time.
Yeah,
right now.
he could be a great backup on both sides. And unlike a lot of our fullbacks, he can actually defend 1v1. I was looking at the stats. He very rarely gets beat on the dribble. And that's playing at high level. These aren't CONCACAF wingers he's playing against, right? So that's another encouraging performance. He was probably one of the best performances on the day. Now, Tim Weah, I thought, had a good performance, although he did miss one clear chance that I thought he should have at least put on target, and another chance that the goalkeeper saved. But let's look at his overall stats. 1 shot creating action, 7 progressive carries, 27 out of 37 completed passes. That's a 69% pass completion rate. That's natural in the attacking third. The pass completion rate tends to drop a little just because, more risks are being taken. 2 out of 4 successful dribbles, and was fouled 3 times. From a defending perspective, he only won 1 out of his 4 aerial duels, but did get in 1 tackle, 1 block, and 11 presses. So Leo likes to press very high, and he's usually heavily involved with that. I don't think it was Tim Weah's best game for sure, but I thought it was a solid game. Now, the first shot that some people got on him for, he received the ball with his back to goal, with a defender on his back, and beat the defender by turning around him. So received the ball and turned his defender. And by the time he was there, the goalkeeper had come off and narrowed the angle, and another defender was coming in to make a slide tackle. So he got the shot off, it beat the defender, but the goalkeeper did make the save with his feet. I'm not going to put that on Tim Weah. He created it out of nothing, and by the time he was in front of goal, it was a hard shot to take. The second one, where he got a cross, he had 2 guys between him and the goal, but I think he should have at least put it on target. And, he definitely should have done better with that. Did you see the game, Zach?
Yeah, I watched this one. It was yesterday in the afternoon. I didn't think Weah was very good in this game, too. I just thought I'm okay with players like him losing possession more than often because he was trying, right? I just didn't think he was good. The first opportunity he had in the first half, I thought he could have done better on that one. I understand your point there, but I think he could have done better. I think he took a little bit of an extra touch and an extra second. That was enough to miss the goal. And the second one, I agree with you. But the second one was also a tough shot, though. It wasn't easy as it looked, the second shot, right? The cross that he got, that he missed.
The cross.
It wasn't that easy of a shot. Should have done better, especially as a striker. Now, I don't think he did this well in this game. I just want to give a shout out to Jonathan David. That was a nice goal.
Yeah, beautiful goal by Jonathan David.
It wasn't a tap. It wasn't a tap. It wasn't a tap.
No, it wasn't. No. Yeah, all right. But here's the thing about, and this is a narrative around Tim Weah that I just want to briefly address, because one of the narratives about, it actually is more to do with Paul Arriola than Tim Weah, is that Paul Arriola is this incredibly hard worker, right? And that's why, Greg sometimes starts him over Tim Weah. If we look at these stats, and again, remember, these are compared to all the wingers in Europe in top 5 leagues. He is above average in aerial duels won. Although yesterday he was not great with aerial duels, the average of aerial duels won per 90 is 0.84 for wingers in Europe. He's at 1.27. Tackles, the average tackles per 90 is 1.35 for wingers in the top 5 leagues. He's 1.59. Clearances. Now, usually you're not clearing the ball in the attacking third or even the middle third. Where are you clearing it? You're clearing it in the defensive third. Okay. The average is 0.57. He's 0.58. So about average for wingers. So this idea that Tim Weah doesn't work hard or that is a defensive liability, I don't really buy it. To be honest, I think it is more a promotion point for Paul Arriola than anything else. Because the truth is, the narrative that MLS guys are the hard workers and that, European guys are just these like prima donnas with talent but don't do any dirty work is just not true. In Europe, you can't get away with not working hard. If you're on the field, especially if you're a young player and you're not doing any of the dirty work, they're going to pull you. So to be playing, you have to be working hard on both sides of the ball. No, don't you think, Tech?
Yeah, and well, the thing with Tim Weah is that they put this narrative of Paul because that's all they can talk about with Paul, right?
Right.
These guys all put in the work too, so it's just a way to. It's just an excuse. I'm kind of tired of mentioning it at this
Yeah.
point.
I just think it's important when because people
Yeah,
they like to throw out platitudes. Like Paul Arriola's a hard worker. So is Tim Weah. And the stats show that, right? He's a hard worker by European standards. And so the idea that he's somehow a liability defensively, I just don't think that's true. Plus, on top of the fact that he gives you so much more production in the final third.
it's also such a vague analysis when you say someone's a hard worker, right? I highly doubt any of the players in the field are not hard workers, right? They wouldn't make it this far in a professional level
Yeah.
playing for the top teams, not being a hard worker, right? It's such a BS excuse that they use. Now, the question is too, does Poriola make smart runs, right? Because they love to say that and they love to use stats to help it up and all that, but they forget that the eye test also matters. And but anyhow, I'll let you keep
Yeah.
going.
No, I also think Tim Weah makes great runs. I mean, they
He
don't have a
does.
stat for it, but he's constantly making vertical runs into the box
A
and
lot is
stretching
the
that
eye
back
test.
line.
A lot of it is watching and you see it. You can't really just put it into stats. Soccer's a little different from, for example, basketball, where if you shoot more shots and you have a higher percentage, you're going to win the game. There's no other stat that matters.
Yeah, for sure. And then Chris Richards. Now, Chris Richards, again, did not have his best game. And look, they lost 4-0 to Bayern Munich, right? So he's one of the center backs. He has to take responsibility for that as much as anybody else on the team. And we can't try to absolve him of that. That being said, it is still Bayern Munich, right? They are going to beat most teams in the Bundesliga and score at least 2 to 3 goals. So I don't think it was his best game, but I don't think he was terrible either. All right. He won his aerial duels. That's 2 out of 2. 0 out of 1 tackle, 1 block, 14 pressures, and 1 interception. From an attacking perspective, he had 7 progressive carries. So a lot of times the way that Hoffenheim plays, they actually let Richards take the ball into midfield, almost playing as an extra attacker or midfielder. Completed 91% of his passes, so 42 out of 46. Some things that you can't really quantify with stats is the way that Chris reads the game, right? He has a very good nose for where danger is developing, and he positions himself appropriately in order to cut out that danger before it becomes a real problem. He's sort of the Tyler Adams of center backs. That's one thing he does really well. But yeah, it wasn't his best game. Conceding 4 goals is obviously on the team, but it's very much on center backs as well. So I can be impressed with Chris Richards because of this. And again, I don't think we appreciate how few 21-year-old center backs are starting in top 5 leagues in Europe. So let's start with that, right? There's very few. Most center backs, they tend to skew a little older because of experience. But if you look at the amount of blocks he has per 90, the average in Europe's top 5 leagues for center back is 1.66. He's 1.93. Tackles per 90. The average is 1.57. He's 2.65. So he is considerably higher than the average for a center back in Europe. Pressures, 9.16 per game. He's at 13.3. All right. Pass completion percentage for a center back, 86.4%. He's at 88.4. Aerials 1 is 2.62 per 90. He's at 3.11. So again, when you look at these, look, on a day like today, it's easy to get discouraged because we don't have a lot of very strong USMNT performances to appreciate. But I want us to appreciate what he's doing consistently in Europe at a high level, and that he is also, like Joe Scally, outperforming a lot of guys in his position who are older and more experienced. So that is Chris Richards. I don't know if you saw that game tag.
Yeah, people are going to think I'm watching too many, but I did watch a lot of games this week. I did watch Chris Richards, and out of the 4 goals, 3 of them, he was somewhat, not the only guilty one, right, but involved in the problem, and that can't happen. The thing with Chris Richards is he shows all the potential he has. You already described that. What he has to do is he has to look on tape, understand where his mistakes were, especially against Bayern, right? It's the toughest opponent you can face in Germany, maybe even in the world. So, and he knows that. So hopefully he learns from the mistakes. Like the one that he let Thomas Miller poke the ball, can't let that happen.
No.
Gotta figure it out. There was also one of the goals, I can't remember if it was the first or the fourth. I thought he took too long to close in on Serge Gnabry, or maybe force him to cut and try to shoot his left. Hopefully he learns from it, and I think he will.
Yeah, I think he will too. It is Bayern Munich. And again, our hyper focus is on Chris Richards, but he was not the only guy at fault for a lot of those goals. A lot of them were system breakdowns. And, yeah, he definitely deserves his share of the blame. But again, I want us to look at the arc of what he is doing and appreciate that while also acknowledging where he can improve, right? Tanner Tessman is the next one. Now, Tanner Tessman, admittedly, has only got about 100 minutes so far this season for Venezia. But I think he's somebody to keep an eye on. He did come on and played, the last 23 minutes for Venezia. He's still just 20 years old. What I like is that they're playing him as a 6, whereas Dallas tended to use him as an 8. Venezia likes him as a 6. And we still don't have a backup for Tyler Adams. Is Tanner Tessman that backup right now? No. But he's definitely one to watch. He made 3 progressive passes, completed 10 out of his 13 passes on the day. And from a defensive perspective, was pretty good. Won 1 out of 1 aerial duels, recovered 3 loose balls, 1 block, 1 clearance, and 1 out of 1 tackles, won. Which, he has the physique to be a good, strong defensive midfielder. What he needs to improve is when the play is very fast, like it is, right? The speed of play is higher than, he's used to at Dallas. He's got to adapt to that technically. And he's still young enough that I think he can. Did you see the game?
So I didn't watch when Tanner played. I was watching the beginning until Busio left at halftime, so I didn't really watch Tanner. I have nothing to comment on. I just heard from different people that he was pretty good when he was there in limited minutes, including you.
Yeah. I thought he was all right. He still had some moments where you're like, you got to react quicker there. But he's one to watch. Remember, he's 20, guys. We don't want to give up on guys too early, right? And he's in an environment that will push him and that will make him get better, that will force him to grow, which I like to see. Okay, the other guy, and I was actually there for this game, who had a really impressive game, was Jesus Ferreira, sort of a forgotten man these days. Scored a goal against the LA Galaxy, a nice goal, although the defending was pretty shocking. Had 4 other shots on target, 4 shot-creating actions, made 4 progressive passes, 66.7% pass completion rate, and played the full 90. From a defending perspective, he won 2 out of 2 tackles, 1 block, 1 clearance, and won 1 out of 1 aerial duels. He was one of those guys who, when you watch him live, you see how good he is when he has very little space. And oftentimes when he's going up against bigger defenders, he's very good at keeping his body between the ball and them so that he can do something useful with it. And I was particularly impressed watching him live. I don't know if you saw the game, Tack, but I think Jesus is a guy to watch. The thing for me with Jesus is I don't think he's actually an attacking midfielder. And I don't think he's a forward. I think he's one of those second forward guys. I think he can play as an attacking midfielder if you have to, but I think his strength is as a second forward, and I don't know if Greg will use him. It'll be interesting to see if he gets called up for the Mexico-Jamaica camps with Zardes still out and with Areola still out. Right? The possibility.
Unlikely. I think we'll see him maybe in December.
Maybe in December. Yeah, I think that's probably more realistic. I think who do you think is the second striker that Berhalter brings for the November?
So I think he's probably in between maybe Sargent and DK. I think he's between those two.
Or PFOC. Could be PFOC.
Yeah, but he criticized PFOC in a way almost as if he doesn't really fit my system and all that, doesn't stretch the back line.
Yeah. Who do you want to bring of those 3?
So I would actually, despite the struggles, I would actually bring Pepe with Josh Sargent. I'll probably bring Pepe and Sargent right now.
I would bring Hoppy as well for his versatility.
Yeah, I forgot Hoppy.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
I would bring Hoppy because he can play wing and he can play forward, and I do think we need to give Hoppy a chance at striker at some point because I do think he has talent despite his club situation. Gabriel Slonina. Now, Gabriel Slonina, like we said earlier, is 17 years old, and to be starting in a top league. And by top league, I mean a first division league, is very unusual and very impressive, in my opinion, for Gabby. Made 5 good saves. I watched the game this morning, the replay. I was really impressed with his positioning and his command of the penalty box. For a 17 years old, a 17-year-old, I was very, very happy to see that. If you look also, I don't know if it's very clear, but if you look at the amount of crosses that he comes off of his line for compared to the average goalkeeper in the league, he's at 9.1. So the average crosses percentage is 6.9% in the league. So that means of all the crosses that are pumped into the box, how many does the goalkeeper claim? The average is 6% in MLS. He's at 9%. And he's 6 foot 3.5 inches. And he's still just 17. So he could easily end up at 6'5", which would be a very good goalkeeping prospect. He's still young, of course. He's going to have ups and downs, but let's appreciate a 17-year-old goalkeeper. I don't think there's any first division in the world, or at least in the top 25, 30 leagues, that has a 17-year-old keeper. And he's a hard worker. And from everything I've heard around the club is that he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's not one of these guys who gets too cocky or gets too complacent with where he's at. He has very lofty goals. So I hope he keeps improving. And you guys should check it out, honestly. Next time there's a Fire game, I know they're tough to watch, but if you get a chance, watch this Gaga Slonina kid play, because I'm really impressed. So that is really it as far as the guys who impressed me. I didn't see some games, like Sargent I didn't see, Dest I didn't see. I know he got an assist, Dest, but he also missed a big chance. What I think is funny is that we tend to overreact to a bad game from a young player. You'll see stuff like, nah, this guy ain't it after one bad game. And I think with young players, you have to, you should actually expect bad games, because that will happen, especially at elite levels. They're not going to be consistent every single game that they play at a high level. And you have to understand that that is just part of development, is learning how to overcome your bad days and increase your amount of good days, So yeah, that's pretty much all I have on players. I don't know if there are any other players, Tack, that you wanted to highlight that you saw this weekend, but feel free to go ahead.
I did watch Dest today until I shifted to the Manchester massacre that happened. I don't know if you watched that game.
I did not, actually. I was too busy watching Slonina's replay.
It was bad. It was pretty bad. The Manchester massacre. We can even talk about that a little bit. But Serginho Dest started as a right back, and then they moved him to start as a right winger, which it was a little iffy, right? He once again in the box had a nice chance and he missed. He's not clinical in front of the goal, right? We saw that midweek when he played as a winger. He can still find space because he's very technical, but when it comes to being face to face with the goalkeeper, he's not a goal scorer, right? That's even though he scores from long range, and he almost scored from long range for Barcelona today. When they move him to the right back in the second half, he looked a lot better. He was not struggling, but he was having to stay back a little bit more because of Vini Jr. But overall, he did fine as a right back. I just think it just shows that he can play as a right wing, but he's not a right winger.
I think that's a fair assessment. So again, with the overreacting, sometimes we're like, oh, let's start him at right wing. I would rather have Serginho Dest at right wing than Paul Arriola, but I would rather have any of Aronson, Conrad, Weah, Gio, Pulisic at right wing over, Dest. Remember, you want quality in the build out, and that's what Dest gives you, right? Technical ability. Tack, I guess this is for you. Do you know anything about the RB team in Brazil? I guess he means Red Bull. And is it used for development in their system?
So Red Bull bought a very old team in Brazil named Bragantino that's in São Paulo. They bought him, I think it's not too long ago, probably like 4 years ago or 5. They were in the second division. They promoted to the first division, and they're qualifying to the Libertadores. They're doing well. So yes, it will be part of the development system, but they're just getting started, right? They're just building it now. I think they're working on a stadium. They did just sell a young Brazilian prospect named Claudinho to Zenit. He didn't go to Leipzig. Pretty good. He was in the Olympic team that won the gold medal. But they're investing on a lot of youngsters in Brazil and buying young guys, and I think it's to push them to maybe Leipzig. But I think this team is above Salzburg. I think they're not going to send a player there to Salzburg. They would send it to Leipzig or sell it to a bigger team, because like Claudinho, Zenit paid a lot of money for him. It was a lot of money. So I think so let's say they're like stepping stones, right? And stairs. There's New York Red Bulls, Salzburg, then Bragantino, then Leipzig. So I think they're number 3 in that ranking.
Interesting.
Number two, I mean, the second biggest one.
Number two, yeah, third from the bottom.
Yeah.
Chase, thank you very much, Chase. You appreciate it. And thank you to everybody. By the way, before we lose track of Gaga Slonina, this week on Patreon, I'm going to do a breakdown of Gaga Slonina's skills and abilities with actual game clips, what I think he's good at, what I think he can improve on. And for a full breakdown of this weekend, guys, I only covered five or seven players. Not all, but the vast majority of players in Europe, TAC will do tomorrow on Monday, right? You have a video coming out?
Tomorrow I have a video coming out on pretty much everything we talked here about, but every single player, breaking down their performances of the ones I watched, more compressed in like 20 minutes.
Right. So he does, mine is more a lot of data on a few players. His is more shorter data points on all the players. So more comprehensive. Make sure you guys check that out tomorrow for a more comprehensive version of what I've done. All right. Let's see. Man, you got owned by Liverpool.
Oh, it was ugly.
Yeah,
it was 5-0, and it was 4 at halftime already.
Paul Scholes predicted this, didn't he? After the Champions League game,
he did. The thing with him was, it was interesting, and I pointed it out because if we say it, we're toxic, right? But the thing with Paul Scholes is he also 2 weeks ago said Manchester United had one of the best defenses in the Premier League, ahead of Chelsea, and then this crap happened. So,
yeah, but I think his complaint was with the way they're playing in midfield.
How
soft their midfield
McFred,
is.
right? McFred, when he starts McFred, McTominay and Fred, the midfield is just no creative. I mean, they do have Bruno Fernandes right there as a 10, but yeah, when he starts McFred, it's just a disaster. I watch every Manchester United game. I'm a Manchester United fan. But
there you go.
There's a lot of problems.
So are you Ollie out?
Yeah, he's the European version of Greg Berhalter. The thing with him, it's kind of funny, right? Because this is what Oli said also at Manchester. He's like, I don't do the tactics. It's Michael Carrick that does them, not me. Go blame him. He literally said it was Michael Carrick.
Dude.
The thing is, Manchester United, there's a lot of problems with the team, right? He puts Cristiano Ronaldo as the center forward, and then he puts two wingers, Marcus Rashford and Greenwood, that pretty much are strikers. They're wide strikers. They pinch in every time, and then they all hit with Ronaldo. No one creates. It's a mess of a team, and if you want me to talk about Manchester United, I'm going to go on for an hour here.
No, that's fine. Arnold Maldonado, good job, guys. Love both your channels. Thank you, Arnold. And I had a blast. I went with Arnold to the Galaxy game. He's got fantastic seats, and we had a great time. And Leggett scored a goal just for me. It was
karate goal.
Huh?
Leggett reminded me of Ronaldo phenomenon at the 2002 World Cup group stage against Turkey. The ball comes flying. He just dives with a karate kick and scores.
Yeah, it was a great goal. I think Leggett should not only start for us in Qatar, I think he should captain us and is a possible Ballon d'Or candidate now after I saw that goal.
I actually think that Greg should not bring him because the Galaxy need him very much, and we should rest him for the men's national team. We should rest him for a while.
Yes. But thank you, Arnold. I had a real blast, and it was really fun to see Pepe play live. I think Pepe, even though he only played the last 30 minutes, is way better than when you see on TV. Watching him live is special. You realize with this hold-up play how good he is, his off-ball movement. There's so many small things that you can't always see on the screen because they don't show you the full field. But when he is away from the ball and, the ball is even on the opposite side of the field, he is constantly moving. He's constantly confusing the defense. He's constantly finding little pockets of space to occupy. I was really impressed with Pepe.
Pete, can you ask Henry G, where did he find that Palmeiras não tem mundial term? Like the one day I want to know where Henry, where did you find that? I can explain what it is, but it's just so specific. And I only hear it from Brazilians, to be
okay.
The story behind this is Palmeiras is one of the Brazilian giants, and people claim they're the only of the Brazilian giants that never won a FIFA Club World Cup. But Palmeiras claims they won it in 1951 at the Copa Rio, which European clubs came. It was the FIFA Club World Cup of the time. So there's this huge dilemma. Do they have it or they don't? Because they won everything, and they have the most league title, but not this. Oh, okay, so Tigres, Palmeiras. Okay, so the Tigres fans found out somehow, probably through Palmeiras fans. and they made fun of it. Okay, that makes sense.
Gotcha. El Padrino says Leggett gave all his power, work, and energy into that goal. Time to rest.
Mhm.
Real quick, I forgot to talk about this guy, Luca De La Torre. And I wanted to talk about him because FB Ref doesn't carry Eredivisie stats, so I couldn't do the stats on him. He's playing right now for Heracles as a pivot, right? A double pivot, not as a single six, but as a double six. And I remember watching him this weekend and thinking that could be a great option for us if Tyler Adams is out. If you could play Luca and McKennie or Luca and Musa there, for example, you sort of because Luca's very good technically, that he can help in the build out. When you're trying to build technically, he's your guy. He may not be as strong defensively or physically as Adams, and certainly not as Musa or McKennie. But I think having a dual pivot with De La Torre in there could certainly be an option. And he still managed to get forward and create two good chances for Heracles in the game, even despite playing so deep. So I didn't have the stats up for him, but I was impressed with Luca again this week.
I didn't watch him. I didn't watch it.
That's fine. All right. How was John Brooks against RB Salzburg? Also, love the vids. Thank you, James. Oh, guys. So Tuesday, John Brooks goes up against Brendan Aronson again in the Champions League. They play again, the same game. I'm going to do a live stream for that game. So if anybody wants to come watch it with me, that'll be the Tuesday video. We're going to live stream the two Americans versus each other. And I'll be able to give you I didn't watch that game. Maybe Tack did.
So he wasn't very good.
Brooks played. He wasn't good, huh?
Not very good midweek. And Wolfsburg just fired Mark van Bommel too.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting to see what happens. And that makes me even more worried for Pepe. They have a bit of an unstable situation there. I don't want Pepe at Wolfsburg. I really don't. I want him to go somewhere else. Ajax would be better. Salzburg would be better. Somewhere in Portugal maybe would be good. A team that's going to give him a lot of chances, and where he's not going to be starved of service like Josh Sargent, or where he has so many guys ahead of him. There's 4 strikers ahead of him at Wolfsburg. So I don't know how hard it is for him to break in. And also Wolfsburg has a history of not playing young players, and especially not young Americans. So I'm not saying he can't be a success at Wolfsburg. It wouldn't be my first choice for him. Obviously, if he does it, we have to hope it works out because we don't have a lot of striker options right now, All right. Nicholas Bauer. As a Canadian, keep Leggett. He is crucial to Canada and 7 other teams qualifying. All right. Who isn't Canada playing Mexico again in this?
Yeah, window? Mexico is a tough window.
It's us and Canada, right?
Yeah, that's tough. Well, is it Canada? Let me see. Because if it's Canada, they play both games away then?
Hang on, maybe not.
So, yeah, they play U.S. away and Canada away.
This is their toughest window, right?
Yeah.
So, here's a good one from James. Do you guys think we are better than Colombia? Oof.
Colombia, no.
Yeah, I don't think so yet. No.
Can we beat them? Yeah. I mean, every game is a game. But let me put it this way. If we face Colombia 10 times, they would probably win 6, we would tie 2, and we would win 2, something like that. We could win, but no, we're not better than Colombia.
Yeah, I haven't really watched Colombia recently, so it's hard for me to comment on it. I'll defer to Tack.
It's a tough opponent.
Derek says, Brian Ko struggling for time on loan for Victoria Berlin, down a couple of leagues in Germany. Bad sign. Yes. I mean, anytime a player is not playing for a low league team, it's never a good sign. The good news is, look, Uli Yanez was in a rough situation just a couple weeks ago. He's now playing regularly and scoring and assisting and being a threat. Yes, I know it's still the Austrian second division, but my point is that young players will have that. It doesn't mean that Brian Ko is finished. It's worrying, obviously, because he's a talented kid. But I wouldn't, it's a bad sign, but I wouldn't freak out about it. Let me put it that way. That's what I would say. Milo Pilas says, who do we play after the Mexico game? We have Jamaica away, Milo. So Mexico at home and then Jamaica away.
Tough games too, both of them.
Very tough one. And Jamie Ricketts says, scouting opponents, do you think Jamaica will cause more problems with Leon Bailey back? Yes. I mean, anytime you have a more quality player on the field, of course, they're going to cause more problems. The
Well, just
question,
we can put it this way: he would start for us, Leon Bailey. So
yeah. And look, the question is with Jamaica right now is with the togetherness and with the organization, right? They have a lot of problems right now with the federation, with the coaching, with some of the English players or English-based players who don't feel valued. They feel like they're being yanked around. So there's a lot of strife and division within that squad. That being said, they did win their last 2 games, right? They lost the first 4, or I think they got 1 point.
no, they won the last game. They beat Honduras away. So
What was the second game of their window?
they tied, I think.
Did they tie?
Let
Okay.
me see. They tied. Let me see. Jamaica.
I thought they won because I thought they have 6 points. Hang on.
No, they beat Honduras and they tied Canada. They tied Canada at Jamaica.
Yeah, so they drew with Canada, which is pretty good. We drew with Canada, and then they won. So they have 5 points now, right? Yeah, they have 5 points. So they're still in that hunt for that 4th spot, right? Let's be honest. It's going to be Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. for those top 3, very likely, based on talent, based on current results. It's probably Panama, actually, everybody except Honduras is still in it. El Salvador to Panama, there's only a 3-point gap, right? So all 4 of those guys are still in it, but Jamaica's in the mix for sure. They could still turn this around, and these guys, get these guys believing that they can go to a World Cup, and maybe if they can bring Antonio and they can bring Bailey and they can bring a couple of these top guys in, you never know. They could get the result, and I don't think Jamaica's away is going to be that easy. The good news is we have a 4-day rest between Mexico and Jamaica, and we shouldn't have to rotate really at all, to be honest. We should have our strongest team out there for both games. Oh, has Ole been sacked?
I haven't seen anything official.
I have not seen this either, but it might be just breaking now. No, nothing breaking here.
No, there's nothing out yet.
All right. What else? How did Alex Mendez play against Benfica? Jason, I didn't watch, so I wouldn't know. But Derek might be able to answer you because he said something earlier about Alex Mendez. Derek, if you saw the game, can you just comment your thoughts on how Alex Mendez played? Yeah, guys, there's no source on Ollie, so don't worry about it. Jonathan Walker with a very good one. We talked about this before, but I can address it again. Should we try Dest at right wing when we don't have a lot of wingers and use Robinson and Scally as fullbacks? So, Jonathan, it depends what you mean by when we don't have a lot of wingers. I would only try Dest there ahead of a guy like Areola. If Areola is available and, if we're down to that level, I would prefer Dest. But we have Weah, who can play there. Aronson can play there. Hoppy can play there. Conrad can play there. So, plus Pulisic if he's free, and even Gio Reyna. I'm very much in the camp of let's keep Dest at right back where he's belonged. But in an emergency, if we genuinely have nobody else, then yeah, I would be much rather see Dest at right wing than Paul Areola because he's going to give you a lot more. Dante Sealy, hat trick for young PSV. Should be in the first team soon. Let's see. I haven't seen a lot of his games, but breaking in at PSV is not easy. And for Dante Sealy, his big problem in the past has been consistency, even when he was at Dallas. If he's maturing and getting more consistent, great. We'll keep an eye on him for sure. Let's see. Jonathan Walker, don't have a lot of wingers means Triple G, typical squad composition. Yeah, guys, be ready. I mean, if Areola is not fit, if he still hasn't played by now, unless he plays next week, which could very easily happen. And that's still 12 days before the roster. So he might be in the roster still. Here's a good one for Tack.
What is it? What position would the USA place in South American World Cup qualifying? So we're going to have to do it through elimination, Pete.
Okay.
We would be behind Brazil and Argentina. That's right away. And here's the thing. The problem is we complain about the away environment in CONCACAF, right? The away environment there is worse. Bolivia is worse than the US by quite a bit. But when we play them away, I think we would lose. Brazil struggles to beat them 1-0 away on the altitude. I the way so if we go with Greg Berhalter, I think we don't qualify there.
Yeah.
I
Because they
think we
get
don't
four and a
qualify.
half spots, right?
4.5. I think if we get lucky, we get the 5th spot and we go to that playoffs. But we would be behind Colombia. Look, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Uruguay, and then after that, we're a little bit better than the other teams in my opinion. But Peru, for example, we're better on paper, but their coach is very good.
Yeah.
Gareca has been able to trick a lot of these good managers. I think we wouldn't qualify the way we're playing, and with
Yeah.
Greg, we do have talent to qualify, but I think we wouldn't.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I mean, all you have to do is look at our results in CONCACAF, which is significantly worse than, CONMEBOL. Drawing in El Salvador, drawing it home to Canada, almost giving it up to Honduras, losing to Panama away. Like, these results are not acceptable. It's going to be a lot worse. Like, teams will punish you a lot more in CONMEBOL. That's the difference. In CONCACAF, there isn't always the quality to punish your mistakes or your tactical, failures. But in CONMEBOL, they will punish you.
The fans are worse too. The
Yeah, the
fans are
environments are
worse.
way worse. Way worse. All right. Derek Rishi had a comment on Alex Mendez. On Mendez, he was fairly competent. One of the best players on the pitch for Vizela. So Vizela is in the Liga NOS, the Portuguese league. Another American, Alejandro Alvarado, also made the bench for Vizela, which was exciting. This is the thing, guys. It's just going to get better from here on out. Like, Portak's video on, guys in Europe is going to be about an hour long by the end of 2022 because he's going to have so many guys to cover. And it's just going to get like this more and more and more. And it's exciting. So I'm psyched for it. I'm glad to hear that Alex Mendez is playing well. He's a guy who very technical, very good with the ball at his feet. His problem in the past has been consistency and also the defensive side of his game, right? So we'll see how he continues to develop. Ilyas Abdi says, I saw that West Ham will be sending their top doctor with Michail Antonio to El Salvador and Jamaica to make sure that he doesn't get injured. So Antonio is likely to be there. What that tells me is Antonio said, I'm not going unless I get my doctor to come with me. And it also tells me that West Ham doesn't trust the Jamaican Federation to handle Antonio well. That's what that tells me.
I don't blame him at all.
I don't blame them at all either. I don't blame them. And that's not a good thing for us, right? If Antonio and Bailey are there, those two guys alone can cause major problems for us, and we're going to have to be ready for that. All right. A couple more minutes, guys, and then we're going to sign off because I got to get going here, and Tack has to go too.
Pete, one thing.
Yeah.
The Salzburg live stream you're going to do next week, not this week.
Isn't it this week?
No Champions League this week. It's on the next week.
Next week. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, next week. Unless that's the day that they end up dropping the roster, then I will not do the live stream.
When it could be. It could
be, right? Because it's on a Tuesday. So that is Tuesday the 2nd. Very likely they could drop it that day. Jason Morales, any players that you think need a move right now? Yes, there are several. Need a move and could benefit from a move are two different things. It's not going to happen, but Matthew Hoppe is being wasted at Mallorca. They clearly don't believe in him. It probably wasn't the best idea to go there, of all places. But the fact that he's not even on the bench is baffling to me because they played him against Real Madrid. I know he didn't have the perfect performance, but against Real Madrid, I thought he performed well enough to earn more minutes, even if it was as a sub. And the fact that he isn't even on the bench tells me Mallorca has no interest in him and only bought him because of their American ownership, which is disappointing to me because then the American ownership, Stu Holden and the Phoenix Suns boss, are just wasting his potential,
So some people in the chat are saying that he's hurt, but look, there were reports that Mallorca, he was available for the game and Mallorca just picked other players. That was the report. That's the official one.
Also, they got this from USMNT only, who pasted a thing saying that he got hurt against Real Madrid and so Mallorca is resting him. But the fact of the matter is, after that Real Madrid game, he played for the national team. So he's not hurt, okay? I'm going to wager that USMNT only got that report from his agent, who is an interesting character at best.
Yeah, guys, remember one thing here. This is just not... A lot of the reports you see from Hoppe could come from his agent and take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. A lot of grains of salt.
Like a full bag of salts, right? Like a full bag, like 1 kilo of salts, more salt than you can handle.
Yeah. Oh, Derek knows his dad, Jim. So maybe Derek can update us on the real truth because that would be interesting.
That would be better.
I think that Ethan Horvath needs to go, Jason. I think, again, it's not going to happen. I'm just telling you that guys that need to move on. I think that Zach Steffen needs to move too. I don't think either of those guys are being served by playing, number two. So those three guys, Sargent, I'm okay with Sargent staying there for the rest of the season and then reevaluating after. Maybe a championship loan for him could be good. Or if Norwich goes down to the championship, then maybe he'll be a championship striker, which I think Sargent could do well in the championship. Is there anybody you can think of? I would like to see Miles Robinson get a move soon to Europe, but I don't think he needs it.
I think Miles does need. I think if he wants to start for us in the World Cup, he needs to go abroad and play in one of the top 5 leagues and be challenged by Bayern, like Chris Richards just was. So we're talking about how Chris Richards had a hard time. We never talk about Miles having a hard time because he's in MLS. Yeah. But I would rather him go to Bundesliga and have a hard time against Bayern. But yeah, he's been productive regardless in CONCACAF. Like you said, Sargent, if Norwich gets relegated, a year in the championship might actually be good for him.
I think so.
It's been good for Robinson. We wanted him to stay, but he's having good performances and he's improving. We're seeing it in the national team.
I also think Sargent needs to be scoring goals to get his confidence back up. His confidence is completely shot. And you saw as soon as he went down to the Bundesliga, the 2 Bundesliga, he got 2 goals in the opening game. And most of the goals that he scored for Bremen the season before were against 2 Bundesliga teams in the Cup, in the DFB Pokal. So I think he could be fine in the second division and start scoring goals, and his confidence would shoot back up again. He may never be an elite world striker, but what you want is a confident Josh Sargent scoring goals on a regular at a decent level, right?
So they're saying also Brian Reynolds for sure. Brian Reynolds is he needs it, and he will get it probably in January.
Yeah, a loan somewhere. Honestly, Venezia should take him on loan.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting one.
So what's his name? They're saying Zach Steffen. Guys, I think Zach Steffen, he's not leaving in January. Forget about it. Manchester City, if they let Steffen go, they need to sign someone else because Pep Guardiola will want a backup goalkeeper where he knows, like, all right, if Ederson's out, I have a goalkeeper that could be my goalkeeper for the Champions League. He's not going to want a U23 goalkeeper. So for Steffen to leave, Manchester City has to sign a pretty damn good goalkeeper. So that's only going to happen during the summer.
Yeah, for sure. Reggie Cannon has to get a move. He's not playing right now over at Boa Vista. Boa Vista as a club, I've heard some really disturbing things about them. They don't pay their transfer fees. There's all kinds of disturbing stuff going on with Boa Vista. I think Reggie needs to move maybe somewhere. I think Championship could be a good move for Reggie Cannon. I think that's kind of his level. I don't think Reggie is a top 5 fullback, like a top 5 league fullback. But I think Championship could do him well. Is there anybody else off the top of my head that I think could move or needs a move? Right now, no.
I mean, I'm not going to say Hoppy, but if it continues like this, then Hoppy.
Yeah, Hoppy for sure. I would like to see Aronson move on in January. I don't think he needs it. Like, he could stay the rest of the season, but I would like to see him test himself at a higher level.
Well, wouldn't it be better for him to finish the season? Because they're going to play the knockout round of Champions League. It might be better for him to stay this year.
Maybe. They'll probably get knocked out in the first round, though, so it'll be interesting.
But he'll get that knockout, right? He'll get knocked out by it. He'll start. He'll play both games.
So it's 2 games. It's 2 games. Yeah. I think he would be better served playing at a higher level for a full 6 months than just those 2 games. But I wouldn't hate it if he stayed.
The thing is, there's a striker at Salzburg, Ademieni, I don't know, the German that plays at the 9th. That kid is scoring every freaking game.
Yeah.
So I think those are the players that essentially need a transfer. I can't remember of anyone else right now from the top of my head. Yeah. Richards is fine where he is. Brooks is fine where he is. Dest is fine where he is. Weston's fine where he is.
Yeah. Most of our guys are exactly where they should be. I think the real thing right now that's crucial is for Pepe to go to the right place, because we can't have Pepe sitting on the bench for the next year before Qatar. We just can't.
Pete, don't you think De La Torre needs a move? Maybe
He just got there. Last year was
after
his
the
first
season
season.
finishes.
After this season, maybe it's time for De La Torre to push himself at a higher level. The problem is they're not really using De La Torre where he should be used, which is higher up the field. So maybe a championship team, maybe even a higher placed team in the Dutch league. Like I could see him playing for PSV, for example. We'll see. Guys, we are going to wrap this up now just because it's been an hour. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you guys are having a great or had a great weekend. I guess it's the end of the weekend now. TAC has a video coming out tomorrow. That's Monday with all of your Americans abroad references.
Even the players you don't care about.
Including the guys you don't care about or hear about that much. So pay attention to that. I'm going to do a Patreon video this week of Gabriel Slonina, so keep an eye out for that. Obviously, I also have an interview with the Venezia owner coming out on Thursday. So keep an eyes peeled for that. Probably have something coming out Tuesday as well. Have a great rest of your day, Sunday evening, guys. Thanks for coming to hang. We'll talk to you soon.